You guys see that? We're getting close. 495. We are at 499. If you don't know, this should go up to like 8,000 RPMs. You don't know how hard it is to drive this car at what, 6,000 RPMs? I shift that at 6,000 every time. But it's almost here. I think it does it at 501, and then I have to turn the car off, it resets, and then boom, no more break-in. 500. Oh wow! Mine actually did it quicker. I watched a video from somebody, I can't remember the guy's name on YouTube, he's actually a big YouTuber, and his took a while. Mine did it like right away. You know, I mean, hey. Oh yes. Oh yes. All right, you guys ready? I'm on a little bit of twisties here. I'm on a little bit of twisties. We're gonna hit it. I mean, why not? It's a drive road. It's 46 degrees. Let's see the tires. Oh, we gotta go in track mode. Track mode. I like the RPMs better this way too, by the way. Oh yeah, look at the RPMs. You ready for this? You guys ready? Yeah, buddy. Oh yes. Oh, you don't know how long I've been waiting to do that. Yeah. I had an Audi R8, and don't get me wrong, that car had an exhaust. If I have a chance, I might try to put one on this car. I think that is worth it. I owe it to this car to get a little bit of a weight reduction too, right? Oh man, the downshifts. Oh. Yes. Oh man, you know, this is not smart purchases, right? Buying a sports car, it's not a smart purchase, right? But boy, that adrenaline rush is worth it. Oh my goodness, it is worth the adrenaline rush. I sleep better at night knowing I did something crazy. That felt really good today, guys. I gotta admit, that was the most fun I've had in a long time. Now, let's talk about a topic that most people bring up in the forums and is pretty much around break-in. Do you still really need to do a break-in? See, back in the day, break-ins were necessary because cars weren't manufactured the way they are today. Now, with that being said, I recommend if you're gonna buy something like this, with this much horsepower, with this much technology, high revving, the best thing you could do is give this car its best shot. It's a sports car, and it's a pretty extreme one at that. So let's talk about break-in. Now that my car is at the 500-mile break-in period, when should I get my oil change done? That's another good question, and something that a lot of people talk about in the forum sections. So here's what I'm gonna tell you guys. GM does not recommend you change your oil before 1,000 miles. They don't say anything about that. Now, they do have a specific maintenance schedule for people who plan on doing some type of racing, or they typically call it something like, what do they call it? There's a special name for it, and if I remember, maybe I'll put it in the video. But like, it's like a commercial use. That's actually how they say it, but obviously no one's using this car commercially. But if you're racing, that could fall under that guideline, right? So if you are someone who plans on driving this car hard at a racetrack, yes, you're probably gonna wanna follow a different maintenance schedule. I believe that the oil change interval for these cars are 7,500 miles. Most people who own these are probably gonna just be doing either the 7,500 mile or 1 year. Mostly the 1 year oil change interval. So if you're looking to buy this car, at the very least, you're changing the oil at least once a year. But here's something to consider. If you do own a car like this, and I know most of you guys out there, when you buy a American sports car, we get remote start. If you buy like an Audi R8 or Lamborghini, McLaren, those cars don't typically give you remote start. I'm gonna tell you guys right now, when I do use my remote start, I only do it for about 30 seconds. That's it. I do not let my car sit for much more than that, simply because fuel dilution. I thought I had the key, but I didn't. So let's go ahead and pop the rear.
let's talk about fuel dilution for a second. This is something that I learned on that guy over there. Diesel engines run at very low RPMs. Therefore, unless you're doing it in a high idle, that fuel is not getting a good burn, which means it's going between your pistons and your cylinder walls into the oil. Fuel dilution is the biggest killer to sports cars, trucks, and it's because of the engine oil and what the impact is on that oil. And that's why I recommend, if you're looking to buy a car like this, I look at this as a supercar. And in Rome, do what the Romans do. See, Lamborghini, Ferrari, McLaren, they don't have remote starters for their cars. Only us Americans are lazy enough that we can't run outside real quickly, start the car for about a minute or so, and then jump in and then drive it. We're just lazy here, pretty much. So, I'm just kidding. We're not that lazy. But nevertheless, fuel dilution is a problem with these cars. If you're someone who's letting the car warm up for 5 minutes or so, because I know some people still do that, you're going to potentially have your gas get through to your oil, which means it's going to break down that engine oil a lot sooner. Therefore, I strongly recommend, if you're someone who has to use that system, get your oil changed a lot sooner. I think the biggest killer to these engines, especially for like the Stingrays, are people who aren't really getting the oil changed at that 3,000 mile, or at least the once a year, because they're thinking, oh, I don't need to do it because I only drove the car 2,000 miles last year. Well, you have to understand that over time, with the kind of heat that these engines do create, especially this one revs up to 8,000 RPMs. Why would you not change that oil? I would say every 3,000 miles. If I were to drive this car 10,000 miles a year, I would probably get the oil changed every 3,000 to 4,000 miles, simply because I like the idea of keeping that oil fresh. Even though I'm not going to be someone who's using the remote start or just letting my car idle for long periods of time, it's just good to keep that oil fresh, because that's what's going to keep the internals of this engine strong. The last thing I want to discuss is this. Someone had asked the question in the comment section, why do you run fuel additive in your car when it's brand new? That doesn't make any sense. So this is not something that I've learned from anyone that's an engineer or a mechanic. This is just something that I do for peace of mind. As I said earlier in this video, I haven't revved this car past 6,000 RPMs. Sometimes I did it even sooner than that, but there were a few times when getting on the highway, they got up to about 6,000 and then boom. Now, obviously when you're in your break-in period, you're not doing hard driving, right? So for me personally, there's 10% ethanol in our gas. If you don't know what ethanol does to your car inside of its engine, you should look it up. For me personally, I like the idea of some extra cleaning agents. Even though I go to top tier fuel stations anyways, they add those. That gives me a little bit of extra cleaning agents, number one. But number two, that adds extra lubrication properties too, especially Lucas, because that's something that they're big on, is discussing that. Let me show you really quickly. So right here, see where it says injector cleaning and fuel conditioning. I don't really use it mostly for cleaning the injectors because they're brand new, they're not dirty. But the fuel conditioning is why I use this. And you guys see right here, lubricates compression rings for easier piston travel, more power, and less cylinder wear. Now again, because I'm not driving this car hard, I like the idea of just putting something a little bit extra in the fuel tank to help the car just run a little bit better. Again, this is nothing that is recommended. I know some people are gonna have a problem with this because they're gonna disagree with me, because that's YouTube for you, but it's just peace of mind for myself. I like to sleep good at night. Doing a little extra, this bottle cost me $12. And every time I filled up on fuel, guess what happened? It got that fuel injector cleaner, and I slept really good at night. That's the only reason why I do it. I'm not saying that it's something that's gonna help your car run better. You're not gonna add 10 more horsepower. I'm just thinking, for me personally, whenever I go to sell this car in the future, these are just things that I could discuss with the potential buyer too. These are just good things to do to keep your fuel clean, right? And obviously this car is only direct injection. Someone had argued with me that this car is direct import. No, the LT7 is direct import. The LT5, which is the Stingray, the LT6, which is this one here, they are direct injection. And with that 10% ethanol in our gas, you're going to have more buildup over time. So I wish that it was port injection, that way those intake valves can get that spray, but that's just not the case here. But a lot of people have said that these engines don't really get affected much by carbon buildup, but I guess I would have to put some miles on this car in 3 or 4 years and see if that's actually the case. And maybe one day, who knows, if I keep this car, maybe I can take it apart and we can actually see if that's the case. Because I would like to know too, personally. I would like to know, does this car really get affected by carbon buildup on the intake valve since they don't have the fuel spray from the injectors there? But yeah, like I said, this is just what I do. If you like the idea of, buying $150,000 on a car and spending $12 on a fuel injector cleaner just to keep the compression rings lubricated and help reduce wear as much as you can, and because you're not really driving this car really hard, carbon buildup can actually develop. So having a little bit of extra cleaning agents in there is just something that makes sense in my head. Not sure if it's right or wrong, but it's just something I like to do. And I've never ever, I can't tell you how many cars I've had at this point. I've never had engine failures. I've never had transmission failures, although that transmission might be on its way out. Well, not the transmission, just the, I keep saying torque converter, but it's actually the valve body, which is bad in those trucks. But yeah, this car, I am gonna try to get an oil change done around 1,000 miles, and we're gonna check the oil. Hopefully the dealership will allow me to film it and show you guys the oil and see if it maybe has some breakdown, because if that's the case, then maybe we should do it at 500 miles. But I think 1,000 miles, especially because the first half of those miles, you're not even driving the car hard at all. It won't hurt it to go another 1,000 miles, especially with the technology and how advanced oil has become. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I am gonna be doing some drive videos soon. It's been snowing out here in Utah, so I figure the weather should be getting good soon, and if I can find a rally to go with some other guys that have some cars like this, that'd be kind of fun too. So just stay tuned. We've got some good things coming. I still haven't decided whether I'm going to modify this car. I don't know how long I'm going to keep it. I love it, but it's expensive. I mean, these cars are not cheap. And so I like the idea of having more money coming in, and this kind of takes away from that. So yes, I always like to buy sports cars. Like I told my wife, I said, I just need like an adrenaline rush. Maybe I should have rented something, but I got a good deal on this car, and I felt like, hey, let me just try something a little different on the channel. And so far, I feel like people are actually enjoying this content. So yeah, stay tuned. Subscribe to the channel. Share it if you find it helpful, and let me know your thoughts. I mean, hey, I know there are going to be some guys out there who are going to disagree with me, because that's YouTube for you. You got to have thick skin on YouTube. So yeah, if you don't agree with me, let me know your thoughts. Peace.